High above the wide lands of Nigeria, where the earth rises to kiss the clouds, there lies a mountain village hidden from hurried eyes. A place where the wind remembers names, where stones hold stories, and where wisdom sometimes wears the face of madness. This village was called Akwande. At dawn, Akwande glowed like a dream carved into green stone. Terraced hills wrapped around red clay homes, smoke curled gently from cooking fires, and children's laughter danced freely through the air. Life here moved to the rhythm of drums, seasons, and ancient traditions passed down through generations. And above them all, watching quietly, stood the mountains, older than memory, patient, and always listening. At the heart of Akwande rode King Dantola, a strong and respected king whose voice once carried like thunder across the valleys. He was loved by his people, trusted by his counsel, and guided by a man he believed loyal beyond doubt. That man was Bashiru. But loyalty, as the mountains know, is a fragile thing. Each morning, Bashiru brought the king a cup of herbal wine, bowing low, his words sweet and respectful. Yet hidden within that sweetness was death, slow, silent, and cruel.
Soon
a poison meant not to
will be
strike,
dead
but to fade,
at the throne
to weaken, to erase. And behind silk curtains and moonlit halls, Bashiru shared forbidden whispers with Queen Marang, the king's own wife. Their desire was not love, but hunger. Hunger for power, for the throne, for a future built on betrayal. As the king's strength faded, so did the balance of the mountain. Far from the palace, at the edge where the village met mist and stone, lived a woman everyone feared. Her name was Mama Seleyifa. Her hair was wild and silver, her clothes worn and patched, her eyes sharp with a knowing that made people uncomfortable. She spoke to birds, gathered strange herbs, and laughed when no one else could hear the joke. The children called her mad. The adults avoided her. But the mountain remembered who she truly was. One evening, as the wind shifted and the clouds thickened, Mama Seleyifa stopped mid-step. She lifted her face and inhaled the air. Her eyes darkened. "This is not sickness," she whispered. "This is mother wearing patience." She had smelled that poison before, long ago, during a time of war and treachery. And she knew only one thing could stop it. That night, while the village slept, she climbed higher into the sacred peaks. Where the air shimmered with ancient power, she gathered forbidden roots, glowing flowers, and whispered prayers older than the village itself.
Feel the magic awaken. It flows through all things. Such beauty surrounds us.
His Majesty needs help.
By morning, the king collapsed. Panic flooded the palace. Healers failed. Prayers echoed unanswered. Queen Marang wept tears that meant nothing. And then, footsteps. The so-called mad woman stood at the palace door. Gasps filled the hall. But desperation opens doors pride once closed. Mama Seleyifa knelt beside the king, her hands steady, her voice calm. She placed a glowing blue antidote upon his tongue, and for one breathless moment, the world waited. Then the king coughed. Then he breathed. Then his eyes opened. Life returned like sunrise breaking through storm clouds. And with it, truth. Mama Seleyifa pointed her staff toward Bashiru. The poison was tested. The lies collapsed. Betrayal stood naked in the light. Bashiru fell. The queen's crown fell with her. Justice was swift. Bashiru was banished to the lowlands, far from the mountain that had rejected him. Peace returned to Akwande, but peace, like silence, can be deceiving. Down below, where dust replaced mist, Bashiru's heart hardened into something dark. His anger festered, feeding on forbidden promises and ancient shadows. He returned not as a man, but as a storm seeking revenge. And the mountain felt his steps. Only one child truly listened. His name was Sadiq. A quiet boy with eyes always lifted to the sky, Sadiq heard what others ignored. The wind spoke to him, not in words, but in warnings. The storm is climbing, he told Mama Seleyifa. And she knew the time had come. The attack came at night, wrapped in thunder and fire. Homes burned. Fear ran through the terraces. Bashiru returned, twisted by dark magic, demanding the throne he believed stolen from him. But he had forgotten something. The mountain had guardians. Mama Zileifa walked into the flames, and the fire bent away from her. She struck the ground with her staff, and the earth answered. Stones shifted. Wind roared. The mountain rose in defense of its own. Beside her stood Sadiq. The boy raised his hands, his eyes glowing softly. And the wind listened. It surged down the slopes, pushing darkness back into the mist from which it came. Bashiru screamed as the very shadows he commanded claimed him at last. Silence followed. Dawn broke gently over Akwande. The village stood. From that day forward, Mama Zileifa was never called mad again. She was honored as the first guardian of the peaks. And when her time came to join the ancestors, the wind carried her spirit into the mountain she loved. Sadiq grew, learning not just to command the wind, but to respect it. He became protector, teacher, and reminder that wisdom often arrives disguised as silence, age, or difference. But stories that truly matter do not fade when the danger passes. They deepen. They grow roots. Seasons turned over Akwande like pages in a well-loved book. Rain returned to the terraces. New roofs replaced the old. Laughter found its way back into the courtyard, softer at first, then stronger, until it once again echoed freely across the mountain slopes. King Dantola ruled wisely, but he ruled differently now. Where once he listened only to counselors and crowns, he now listened to the land. To elders. To children. To silence. Often, he would stand at the palace balcony at dusk, gazing toward the high peaks, remembering the woman everyone once ignored. She saved more than my life, he would say quietly. She saved our sight. And so a new tradition was born in Akwande. Each year, when the mist grew thick and the wind shifted its song, the people gathered beneath the great Iroko tree. They told the story of Mama Zileifa, not as a warning, but as a lesson. They taught their children that wisdom does not always arrive dressed in gold. That truth does not always speak loudly. And that madness, sometimes, is only courage misunderstood. Sadiq grew tall among those stories. The boy who once whispered to the wind became a young man who listened before he spoke. He climbed the peaks not to command them, but to understand them. He learned the herbs Mama Zileifa once gathered. He memorized the stories the elders almost forgot. And when storms came, as storms always do, he stood calmly, arms open, letting the wind pass through him rather than against him. The people began to say, "The mountain trusts him." Years later, when King Dantola's hair turned silver and his steps slowed, he placed his hand on Sadiq's shoulder. "Guard this place," the king said. "Not with fear. Not with force. But with balance." And Sadiq nodded. And so the whispering peaks of Akwande stood, unchanged, eternal, guarding a village that had finally learned how to listen. And that is how a kingdom survived, not through power, but through understanding. Not through crowns, but through courage. And not through fear of the unknown, but through respect for it. For the mountain remembers, and the wind always tells the truth.